Have you ever felt a pang of guilt looking at a dozen unfinished projects? Maybe it's the half-read book on astrophysics next to a guitar you've been meaning to practice, sitting in a room with a half-painted canvas. You're told by everyone, by society, by career counsellors, by that nagging voice in your head, to just pick one. But every time you try, it feels like you're cutting off a part of yourself. It feels like a betrayal of all the other people you could become. What if that feeling isn't a character flaw? What if that constant curiosity pulling you in 100 different directions isn't a sign of being scattered, but a sign of adaptation? What if your brain is preparing you for a future where narrow specialists might actually be at a disadvantage? This is the story of how your many interests are the building blocks for the most valuable and resilient career profile of the next decade. The M-shaped professional, and by the end of this you'll stop seeing your passions as a liability and start seeing them as your greatest strategic advantage. For much of the last century, we've been handed a very specific map to success. It's a straight line. You go to school, find a passion, major in it, and spend the next 40 years digging deeper into that one area of expertise. This was the era of the I-shaped professional. Imagine the letter I, a single vertical line plunging deep into one domain. This model was perfect for the industrial and early information ages. The world felt more stable, and problems were complicated, but they stayed in their own boxes. Got a legal problem? Call a lawyer. Health problem? See a doctor. In these predictable environments, which the writer David Epstein has helped popularize by borrowing from the work of psychologist Robin Hogarth, specialization is king. Think of a chess master or a classical violinist. The rules are fixed, the patterns are repeatable, and the more hours you pour into that single craft, the better you get. Society built its entire educational and corporate infrastructure around this idea. We created departments, silos, and career ladders that rewarded one thing: depth. The mantra was, "A jack of all trades is a master of none." This pressure makes anyone who is curious about many things feel like they're constantly falling behind. But that map is now dangerously outdated. The world we live in isn't a collection of neat, separate boxes anymore. It's a chaotic, interconnected web. The problems we face today, climate change, economic volatility, the ethics of AI, don't respect departmental silos. They are what planners Horst Rittel and Melvin Weber first called wicked problems back in 1973. They're messy, the rules are always changing, and a solution in one area often creates a new problem somewhere else. In this wicked world, the hyper-specialist, the I-shaped professional, is finding themselves at a disadvantage. Their deep knowledge is like having a key to only one door in a house with 1,000 interconnected rooms. The very nature of knowledge has changed. There's a widely cited rule of thumb in engineering education that the half-life of knowledge for an engineer can be as low as 5 years, though this can vary a lot by subfield. This means that within a few years of graduating, half of what they learned could be obsolete. In a world where your core expertise can evaporate so quickly, is tying your entire identity to a single, narrow specialty really the safe bet? The map is broken. The promise of lifelong security through deep specialization is turning into a myth. For the person with many interests, the person who was told they were flawed for not following the map, this isn't a crisis, it's an opportunity. You were never built for the straight line anyway. You were built for what comes next. To understand where we're going, let's look at how the ideal professional has evolved. We've talked about the I-shaped person, the deep specialist. For a while, the business world got obsessed with a new model, the T-shaped professional. This was a step in the right direction. Imagine the letter T. The vertical bar is still that deep expertise, but the horizontal bar at the top represents a broad knowledge of other fields and the ability to collaborate. This was better. T-shaped people could talk to other specialists, but they were still defined by one primary skill. In today's world, even that isn't always enough. The future doesn't just belong to the I-shape or the T-shape. It belongs to the M-shaped professional. So, what is an M-shaped professional? Imagine the letter M. Instead of one deep pillar of expertise, an M-shaped person builds deep expertise in 2, 3, or even 4 different areas. These aren't just hobbies. These are genuine pillars of competence where you've achieved a valuable level of mastery. But the real magic isn't just in the pillars themselves. It's in the curved connective bridges at the top of the M. This bridge represents something called far transfer. Specialists are masters of near transfer. They take what they know and apply it to a very similar problem. An accountant applies tax knowledge from one company to another. But M-shaped people are masters of far transfer. This is the rare ability to pull a concept or a pattern from one field and apply it to a completely different, seemingly unrelated one. It's seeing the underlying structure of a problem that specialists might miss. For example, a biologist who understands how a forest's root system communicates and who also has a pillar in software engineering might see a totally new way to design a decentralized data network. A leader with deep knowledge of brand strategy, but also a pillar in psychology, can create a level of team innovation that others can't. This isn't about knowing a little about a lot. That's a dash-shaped generalist, which can lead to anxiety without real depth. The M-shape is about having multiple areas of genuine depth and, crucially, the ability to connect them. Steve Jobs famously credited a calligraphy class he dropped in on for inspiring the beautiful typography of the first Macintosh. That's far transfer. He connected the art of letter forms to the world of personal computing, an intersection that many specialists at the time might have missed, even though brilliant design work was also happening elsewhere, like at Xerox PARC. He built a bridge between 2 of his pillars. This is the M-shaped advantage. It's not just that you know multiple things, it's that your unique combination of skills allows you to see solutions no one else can. You become an innovator by your very nature, because innovation is so often born at the intersections of disciplines. You're no longer just a musician, a coder, or a marketer. You're the intersection of all of them, a space where only you exist. Okay, you might be thinking, this sounds great, but I'm still the person with a dozen unfinished projects. How do I go from scattered to a powerful M-shaped professional without burning out? This is the most critical part. The M-shape isn't built by frantically trying to do everything at once. That's a recipe for becoming that anxious, dash-shaped generalist. All breadth, no depth. The M-shape is built strategically, one pillar at a time. It's a process of serial mastery. Here's a 3-step framework to build your M-shaped life. Step 1. Identify and build your first core pillar. The first step is the hardest for any multi-passionate person. You have to choose one thing to go deep on first. This might trigger a wave of panic. What if I choose wrong? What if I get bored? Here's the reframe. You're not choosing one thing for the rest of your life. You're choosing one thing for this season of your life. Think of it like pouring the concrete for the first column of a temple. You have to let it set before you can move on to the next. Trying to pour all of them at once just leaves you with a mess. So, how do you choose? Don't get trapped trying to find your one true passion. Instead, ask these questions. Which of my interests solves a real problem? Which one has a clear path to valuable skills? Which one am I most curious about right now? Pick the one with the most energy and potential for you today. Then, commit to it. This is the difference between a master and a dabbler. The dabbler loves the thrill of starting. They ride that initial steep learning curve where progress feels fast. But as soon as they hit the first plateau, That long, frustrating stretch where the hours go in but the improvement isn't obvious. They jump to the next shiny object. Sound familiar? The master understands the plateau is part of the process. Your goal for this first pillar is to go deep enough to get past that initial phase, deep enough that you're fluent in the domain, deep enough that you could get paid for that skill. This might take 6 months or 18 months. But building this one pillar gives you a foundation of stability and confidence. It proves you can achieve mastery and gives you an anchor that frees you up to explore your next pillar without financial pressure. Step 2. Build the connecting bridge with far transfer. As you're building your first pillar, you don't just abandon your other interests. This is where you start building the bridges. It's about consciously training the skill of far transfer. Start by running your life through an idea capture system, a notebook, a notes app, whatever works. The key is to have a single place to capture ideas from all your different interests without letting them derail you. When you're reading about ancient history and it sparks an idea for a marketing campaign, write it down. When you're practicing music and a pattern reminds you of a coding problem, capture it. You're creating an external brain, training your mind to look for underlying patterns. You start asking questions like, what is the deep structure of this problem? Where have I seen a similar structure in a completely different field? For example, maybe your first pillar is project management. You're skilled at breaking down complex projects and managing teams. You've also always been interested in urban gardening. Instead of just seeing it as a hobby, you can actively apply project management frameworks to it. You create a project plan for your garden, set milestones, and manage resources. It might sound like overkill, but you're exercising the muscle of far transfer. This cross-pollination is what makes an M-shaped person so innovative. A salesperson with a pillar in theatre understands storytelling on a level their peers don't. A data scientist with a pillar in ethics can see the potential for bias in an algorithm that a pure technician might miss. Don't just have interests. Actively look for ways to connect them. That's how you build a strong, flexible bridge that holds your M together. Step 3. Sequence your focus with serial mastery. Once your first pillar is stable, you can intentionally start developing your second. This doesn't mean you abandon the first, you maintain it. But you shift your primary learning focus to the next area. This is a process of strategic graduation. You aren't quitting because you're frustrated. You're consciously deciding to move from the intense learning phase of one skill to begin another. Think of your career in seasons. You might have a 2-year season where you're laser focused on becoming a world-class graphic designer. In the next season, while still working as a designer, your learning focus might shift to mastering user experience UX design. You take courses, do side projects, and immerse yourself. You're now building your second pillar. Later, a third season might be dedicated to understanding business strategy, building your third pillar. At each stage, you're not starting from scratch. The skills you learned in the first pillar accelerate your learning in the second. The discipline you developed, the understanding of how to push through a plateau, it all transfers. And you're constantly building those connective bridges. Your graphic design knowledge makes you a better UX designer. Your combined knowledge of design and UX gives you a unique perspective on business strategy. You aren't just collecting skills, you're building an integrated system. This approach of serial mastery, of life in seasons, is the sustainable way to build an M-shaped profile. It respects your curious nature without the burnout of trying to be everything at once. This is how you transform from a jack of all trades into a master of multiple trades, and the master of their integration. If this idea of building a career around your multiple interests resonates with you, and if you're tired of being told to just pick one, then hit that subscribe button. This channel is all about navigating the future of work and turning your unique talents into your greatest strength. And I have to ask, does this sound like you? Have you always felt pulled in multiple directions? Let me know in the comments what the pillars of your M-shape are, or what you want them to be. Let's create a community of M-shaped thinkers, so you've embraced serial mastery. You're building your pillars and weaving connections between them. What's the ultimate payoff? Why is this M-shape so resilient and valuable? First, adaptability. The world of work is getting more volatile. Entire industries face disruption. As we've seen, the half-life of skills is shrinking. The I-shaped specialist whose single pillar becomes obsolete faces an identity crisis. But the M-shaped professional is anti-fragile. If one of your pillars is disrupted, say AI automates a lot of your data analysis, work, you aren't destroyed. You have other pillars to lean on. In fact, you're in a unique position to use your other skills, perhaps in ethics or product management, to lead the charge in how to best implement that new AI tool. You don't just survive disruption, you leverage it. This leads to the second payoff, AI readiness. As AI gets better at performing narrow specialized tasks, the value of human workers is shifting. In some highly specific domains, competing with AI on pure specialized knowledge is becoming a losing game. The most valuable human skills are the ones machines struggle with: creativity, critical thinking, and making unexpected connections across fields. M-shaped people are the perfect partners for AI. They can act as the translators and connectors, combining the technical power of AI with human-centric insights from psychology, art, or ethics. As AI handles more of the what, the M-shaped professional excels at the so what. Finally, the ultimate payoff is unique value creation. By combining your pillars, you create an offering that is literally one of a kind. Think of Scott Adams, the creator of Dilbert. As he explains it, he is not the world's best artist, he's not the world's funniest comedian, and he's not the most experienced business expert, but he's better than most at all three. That combination of decent drawing, decent humour, and a deep understanding of corporate culture created an empire that no specialist cartoonist, comedian, or business consultant could have built alone. His value is in the intersection. This is the promise of the M-shaped future. You stop competing with specialists on their terms. You create a new game where you are the only player. Your unique blend of expertise allows you to solve problems that no one else can even see. That is a superpower. And in a world that's only getting more complex, that superpower will be in higher demand than ever. For years, you may have felt like a puzzle with pieces from a dozen different boxes. You've been told that to succeed, you have to discard all but one set and build a simple picture. But the future doesn't just want simple pictures. It wants complex, intricate mosaics. It wants people who can take pieces from different boxes and create something entirely new. David Epstein, in his brilliant book Range, sums it up perfectly with this advice. Don't feel behind. Your journey isn't a straight line, it's a rich path of exploration. Every interest you've pursued, every rabbit hole you've gone down, has not been a waste of time. It has been the raw material for your M-shape. It's time to stop apologizing for your curiosity and start using it as the powerful, future-proof asset it truly is. Embrace your many passions. Embrace the fact that you were never meant to just pick one. You were built for a much more interesting and much more valuable future. Thank you so much for watching. If this video gave you a new perspective on your own career path, please consider subscribing and sharing it with another multi-passionate person in your life. And remember to comment below with your own M-shaped pillars. Let's show the world that the future isn't just specialized, it's multifaceted.